Before we get stuck into this episode, I just wanted to extend a massive, massive thank you for being here. Whether you're a regular listener or you're new here, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you choosing this podcast. And I also just wanted to ask a favor. If you have found this podcast valuable, I'd love to invite you to join me on my mission, and that is to spread this podcast far and wide to the people who really need to hear the messages in these episodes. So if you have found this podcast of any value at all, I would love to ask for a moment of your time to rate and review this podcast, either on Apple or Spotify or whatever you listen to it. It would really mean a lot to me, and together we can heal attachment trauma, heal the world, and eradicate it from toxic relationships together. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you. Let's get into this episode. Welcome to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I'm Sammy, a certified breakup and relationship coach, attachment specialist, former love addict, and spiritual junkie. This podcast is for you, the hopeless romantic who loves to love, and a safe space for us to explore and heal our attachment trauma, broken hearts, and love addictions. Together, we are on a mission to become the love of our own lives so we can have successful, healthy, secure relationships with others. So if you're ready to create a life and love beyond your wildest desires, you're in the right place. Your journey towards becoming more secure in love and life starts now. Hello, my love, and welcome back to the podcast. And if you're listening to this in real time, it is October, which means the nights are drawing in, winter is coming, and it is holiday season. And next week is Halloween. And I don't know about you, but I love Halloween. Any excuse to have a party and get dressed up and just really dive into a theme. And there's something about the holidays as well that brings back a sense of nostalgia. And it makes you think about how you used to celebrate these holidays. For Halloween, for me in Wales, we used to go trick-or-treating, we go to watch the pantomimes, we go apple dunking, we watch Hocus Pocus, I think that's what it was called, on the TV, and it was just all around a good time. And with Halloween, a lot of it is associated with like witches and ghouls and ghosts. So I thought it would be the most optimal time to do a podcast episode on ghosting. Something that's not so fun. But if you're here listening to this episode, chances are that you have been ghosted by somebody and you're hurting right now, and it sucks. Ghosting is one of the most painful types of rejection that anybody could go through, and it just seems like these days everybody has a ghosting story. Everybody has been ghosted at least once in their life or has ghosted another as well. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the complexities of ghosting in modern dating, why people ghost in the first place, just to give you an insight and an understanding that it's not about you, it is about them, but why it hurts so much and the emotional wounds that it triggers within us. And at the end, I'm going to give you a little insight on how to respond if someone is ghosting you right now. So if you're very new to this term ghosting, what it practically means is ghosting is when someone cuts off all communication and just disappears. They're just gone from your life. It's as if they died, but not really, because in the modern online world, it seems like they have just completely left your life, but maybe you can still see them on social media. Maybe they're still posting and getting on with their life. And that in and of itself can be even more painful, because ghosting is not really a new thing. It's not like a modern dating thing. We're just seeing it a lot more now, and we're going to get into why that is. But it's not a new problem. This has been happening in all of history. Like back in the day, you'd have your beloved and your loved one, and then all of a sudden they would disappear. The letters will stop, the phone calls, the visits will just stop, and they are never to be seen again. And I'm sure it freaking hurt back then as well. It's like as if the relationship dies and you're haunted by the what ifs, what happened, the confusion. But I think back then there was this element of, did they die? because there was no way of knowing, right? Everything just stopped, and maybe you're like, yeah, maybe they died. Maybe they got some disease or they died of war. And you were just left with that, I don't know what happened to this person. Whereas nowadays, you can see that they're alive and well if they're still on their social medias and they haven't blocked you, and their friends are saying they're okay. Like there is some way of knowing, but there is a paradox to that, because then we start to think about, well, why? Why did they ghost me if they are alive and well? What did I do wrong? And that's where you start the internalizing process, which we're going to get into today. But I done a little bit of research on this concept of ghosting, and I was just shocked by the amount of people that say in this recent study that they have been ghosted, and that is 72% of us have been ghosted at least once in our life. I know I have, and you're probably very likely also being ghosted in your life right now. But interestingly enough, 50% of us have admitted to ghosting someone. So maybe you're here and you have ghosted someone, or you have in the past, and you don't feel so great about that. Maybe there's a little bit of guilt. I for sure am guilty of ghosting someone as well. So we're going to get into a little bit about what's going on with us as well when we feel like we need to ghost someone, like that is the only option. So even though ghosting is not a new problem, it's got its modern complexities. And what I mean by that is, with the introduction of technology and dating apps, we seem to be living in a society of information overload, choice overload. We have so much choice at our fingertips now with the dating apps that it has somewhat inhibited our ability to communicate the basics. We seem to think that it's okay to get in contact with someone and then start communication, and then all of a sudden just cut them off. And it's like, well, we're not in a relationship. But we sometimes don't understand the hurt that can be behind that if someone, and we don't know what they're experiencing either. So this is what I'm seeing in our modern dating society, that in a way, a lot of us are doing the work on ourselves, and we're really trying our best and putting in the effort to communicate consciously and fully and effectively. But then on the other hand, a lot of people are going in the other direction as well. So ghosting typically happens in these early dating situations, but it can also happen in mid-long situationships. Like for me, that was definitely my experience, where I was dating a guy in a very close proximity, where we saw each other every day, if not all day, for at least 3 to 4 months. And then all of a sudden, things changed logistically between us. So it was this guy that I met in the US, and we spent a lot of our time together while I was working there. And I met his family, and we were literally in a relationship. It felt like that. I lived with him for a while I was at the end of my time living in the US. And then I went back to the UK, and he just cut off complete contact. Like no explanation, nothing. So it freaking hurts, because you then have this idea that this person is going to be in your life. You start to imagine the visions and the ideas and the potential of what this could be. And then it's just gone. It's just completely ripped from you. And there's no closure. There's no explanation. And you start to wonder, like, what did I do wrong? I'm getting completely abandoned. Maybe again, maybe you've been through this before, or it's triggering a wound within you, something deep from your childhood, and you're just feeling these overwhelming emotions and experiences. And then maybe you feel like, well, this person can't have cared for me at all if he was so willing to cut all contact, even block me, even though this guy didn't block me, he just stopped messaging me and responding to my messages. And then you start to doubt the connection and the relationship. Like, was what I was feeling true? Was he feeling the same way? I thought he was. Maybe he wasn't. And we start to overthink absolutely everything, every little intricate detail from that relationship. And even thinking, how did I miss this? How did I miss that this person actually didn't care about me? So like I said, it's not about that. We're going to get into what's really happening. But this is how you feel. You start to evaluate how you showed up in that relationship and the behavior. Have I done something wrong that has triggered him to ghost me in such a harsh way? But still, I don't deserve to be discarded like that. and wanting to reach out and be like, hey, what's the hell is going on? Why are you doing this? And we start to get into that anger stage then and wanting to bombard them with messages. But that is not the way to go. And I'm going to give you an insight into what to do instead at the end of this episode. But then we might fall into a space of, what can I do to get them back? What can I do to reignite the spark and the messages and the contact again? And we take on the lack of reciprocation and respect from this person as an invitation to start to prove our worth and our value to them. So then we start to see ourselves chasing, proving, pleasing, just to get that external validation that you are not rejecting me right now. Rejection, oh, it's just a painful, painful experience. And we sometimes make it mean something about us as an individual. So if we are trying to prove that wrong to ourselves by seeking that external validation. But ghosting can also happen in long-term relationships. You hear these horror stories, right, of people being married for years and then all of a sudden they disappear. Maybe they've been leading a double life, or they've just decided one day that they don't no longer want to be in this marriage or long-term relationship, and they want to take that easy way out of just ghosting and completely falling off the face of the earth. We hear about these horror stories, and maybe this is something that you're going through as well, and that just has an extra layer of deep pain, hurt, and betrayal. It also happens in friendships. We ghost friends that we feel no longer align with us and our life trajectory and values. And instead of having that healthy conversation and closing the friendship in a way that feels good for both the people, we just feel like, oh, I'm just not going to contact this person again. And it still hurts. I have also been in a space where I've been ghosted as a friend, and the same experience comes up. Like, what did I do wrong? What did I say? Why is this person not responding to my messages? Oh my God, they don't like me anymore. And then, it's just, for me, it takes me back to that time where I was rejected all the time in school and bullied because I was different and I was not liked, and I was excluded from sports and activities, and it just brings up a lot of childhood stuff in friendships as well. It also hurts. And there's this new term that I came across as well in my research called corporate ghosting. And this is when this happened in a corporate level in work. Maybe you're being ghosted by coworkers or rejected or excluded in some way from your coworkers or your boss. Maybe your boss has for some reason taken a dislike to you and have stopped giving you shifts because they just don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation of firing you or letting you go. They just stop giving you shifts and ghost you in that way, or you have no response after a job interview. So all of this is a form of rejection, and it all hurts. There is no clarity, there is no closure, and in any capacity that you are being ghosted, it's going to chip away at your self-worth and your esteem and the way that you see yourself, your self-image in this world as well. Because what we see a lot with ghosting is we internalize the experience. Like I said, we start to pick at what we did wrong and notice any flaws or faults that we have in ourselves because we don't have that closure. We don't have that external closure of having conversations, of receiving feedback as to what happened, as to have that conversation. So instead, that's when we start to look within. And I'm all for taking a look at how we can take accountability and responsibility for our role and part in a relationship. But when we start to think that it's all our fault, that is a red flag to be aware of within yourself. Because when we internalize any type of experience that has hurt us, we then take that into our next relationships and we risk bleeding all those insecurities into our new relationship and on our new partner. So that's why it's so important to change our internalizing process into an integrating process. And this is what I'm going to support you to do today as well. And that starts with knowing that when someone ghosts you, it has absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with their emotional unavailability. That's it. That's it. It just shows the emotional immaturity on the part of the person who is ghosting you, that they cannot step up like a grown adult and have a conversation with you about what is happening for them and what they want out of the connection or the relationships that they're building with you. It speaks to their lack of emotional awareness and maturity than anything else. And we're going to go through some reasons why this is coming up, but it really all does boil down to their emotional unavailability. So I want to ask you right now, do you want to have a person like that in your life who is so willing and ready to be able to give you such a lack of communication and empathy and respect? So they just think that the easy way out is to just disappear and get on with their life, leaving you reeling in all this pain and suffering. So I know it might be hard to hear right now, but they kind of did you a favor. They removed themselves from your life so you don't have to go through any of that emotional immaturitiness that they are presenting right now. So good riddance. And I hope that they can take this experience and be able to see, okay, maybe, you resonate with this if you have ghosted someone in the past, right? And you feel guilty and you feel bad about it. Let's just hope that they feel bad about it and they feel guilty about it. And they're like, actually, I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to show up like this. I realize now that I need to work on my emotional intelligence and emotional maturity and communication skills because I don't want to put someone through that again. Or maybe they're just completely burying their head in the sand and ignoring it and moving on with their life. And like I said, we really need to ask ourselves in that moment, do we want a person like that in our life? And it is a resounding no. But like I said, it still hurts because it triggers old emotional wounds from our past when this happens to us. I'm interrupting this episode to ask you a question. Have you taken our relationship archetype quiz yet? If you haven't and you want to know more about your attachment style, this is the quiz for you. All you have to do is answer 10 simple questions and that will take you to your result to find out what archetype you are, whether you're the mountain, the wind, the sun, or the ocean. So to get started for free, click the link in the show notes below and don't forget to let me know what archetype you are as well. All right, let's get back to the episode. So let's have a look at some of the wounds that might be coming up and flaring for you right now, may have been reopened and are raw and painful and need to have our attention so we can start to heal and be with these wounds that have been activated from this experience. So first and foremost, a rejection wound, right? So if we're already carrying a rejection wound, how this is going to show up for you when we are ghosted, because, sorry guys, interrupt myself right here. It can also just be an amazing opportunity to understand what wounds we're already carrying, right? I know it hurts. I know we'd rather not go through it, but maybe on a soul level, we are being called to go through this type of experience so we can understand what wounds we are still carrying within us. So when we start to shift the way that we see this in that way, as uncomfortable and painful as it is, it can also just be such a catalyst for growth and expansion as well. So back into it, rejection wound. So if you're still carrying a rejection wound, the way that ghosting is going to bring this back up for you is you are going to feel really unlovable when you are being ghosted and that you are not enough. And this wound itself can make you really hypersensitive to any perceived slight criticism or sign that someone is going to leave you, reject you, and abandon you. And these wounds all intertwine with each other, and you might recognize that you are carrying more than one as well. So you may feel all of these experiences, but if the wound is present, it's going to feel so unbearable and overwhelming, and it's going to impact the way that you love and do life. So like I said, everybody feels rejected, right? But it's the difference between feeling rejected, disappointed, hurt, knowing that it's nothing to do with you, picking yourself back up and moving on, and it is not impacting the way that you get into another relationship. Whereas if you have a rejection wound, it's going to feel so real, such a real experience that you are so unlovable and not enough. So I hope that gives you an insight into the differences between having an activated wound and just having like surface level hurt in the moment. Abandonment wound. So if you have an abandonment wound, the way that ghosting is going to show up for you is you are going to experience an intense fear of being left behind and losing them. Like it's all about, oh my gosh, I have been abandoned. This person has left me and I am never going to find someone who is willing to stay with me. And there's this intense fear of being alone. I'm so afraid of being alone in this world. And this wound can then lead to clingy behavior, codependency, and a constant need for reassurance in your relationships. A betrayal wound. If you're carrying a betrayal wound, ghosting will make you feel intense feelings of distrust and anger and hurt, and feeling like you have been so let down by this person. And everybody inevitably is going to let you down and betray you in some way. And this can make it really difficult for you to trust others and feel safe in relationships because you're always thinking about, when are they ultimately going to go against me and betray me and stab me in the back? An unworthiness wound may show up in a way that you will feel completely inadequate for this person and for anyone as a result. You believe that this person is just too good for you. Of course they ghosted me. Like, I'm not good enough. Like, I'm not good enough for them. They're too good for me. I am unworthy of this person, of this relationship. I put them on this pedestal, and I might as well just count my lucky stars that they even entertained me in the first place, that they gave me any type of attention. We feel like we don't deserve that love or happiness or success or even respect from that person. And this wound can result in people-pleasing behaviors because you will feel like you constantly need to live up to their status and seeking validation from them. And the last one is a shame wound. If you're feeling a shame wound, there's going to be like a deep sense of embarrassment or humiliation. Like, I can't believe I even got myself into the situation. Like, how embarrassing is that? I'm so humiliated that I allowed this to happen. And we can start to shame ourselves because of this activated wound. We may feel like there's something fundamentally wrong or flawed with us as well. Like, it's shameful. I need to hide these parts of myself. I need to bury them deep, deep down for no one to see, not even myself. And that's what it can do. It can cause you to hide those parts of yourself to avoid rejection and judgment and humiliation in the future. So now we have an insight into why it hurts so much, what wounds are being triggered, what ghosting really is. So let's have a look at why people ghost in the first place. And like I said, in all cases, it represents that lack of emotional unavailability, avoidance, and lack of mutual respect. That is the foundational reason of why people ghost. But let's have a look at some of the more specific reasons why that may be. So the first one could be a lack of interest. They were just not that into you. It happens, right? That is the thing about dating. We are going to meet people. You probably have experiences as well where we meet someone and we're like, I don't know. I'm not really interested in taking this any further. And I just don't think that we vibe in a way. Yeah, no, it's a no for me. But some people tend to drag it out longer for them to fully make up their mind whether they are interested in something more serious with this person, or maybe it's a right away. Regardless of the length of time, they can pull away from this lack of interest. So they may say in their mind like, oh, well, it was nice to get to know them. It was nice to go on a few dates. It was nice to have these experiences with them, but I kind of lost interest and I just don't think they're right for me. So instead of having a difficult conversation about their feelings and about my feelings, I'm just going to disappear. And I hope that they're just going to get the message that I'm no longer interested. It's an easy way out. It doesn't require the person to be honest at all. And we just have this assumption that people are just going to get it. But sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't get it. We don't understand. So it could be that. The second one is a lack of communication skills to avoid awkwardness and confrontation. Now, we see this one a lot more commonly, that people just don't know how to say what they want to say, and it makes them feel so uncomfortable, and they don't want to get themselves into a space where there's going to cause conflict or confrontation or awkwardness. So instead they're just going to bury their head in the sand, and I'd rather not do that. So ghosting can be a way to completely avoid having to explain themselves for ending a relationship and getting into any confronting interactions. And I believe this is what happened with me and America guy, where it wasn't a case of that he didn't care for me. It wasn't a case that he didn't feel anything towards me. He just saw our situation as something that was not going to work out because of the logistical reasons. And instead of having that conversation to be able to give that sense of closure to us both, really, he didn't know how to communicate it. So instead, he's like, yeah, this isn't going to work out. I'd maybe there's an element of I don't really want to say goodbye because that's awkward because we just spent this very intense time together. So I'm just gonna bounce out. See ya. And we're left with all of this. So it could be fear of hurting feelings. Right. We see this a lot with the more anxiously attached individual, where, and I've done this, I'm holding my hands up right now, I have done this. I have ghosted people because I have this, well, first of all, lack of communication skills, but also a fear of hurting people's feelings. So it's not so much the avoidant people that would feel this way. It's the people with people pleasing tendencies. And we're very highly attuned to the feelings of other people, right? We don't want to feel bad or guilty for hurting someone's feelings. We don't want to disappoint them. We don't want them to see us as a bad person. We don't want to let them down. So instead, we're just going to like gradually walk out of the relationship. We might take our time, because we don't want to hurt their feelings. So we'll still entertain them. We'll still have them in our lives in some way. We'll still message them and respond, but we don't want to. But we feel like we have to. And it's a gradual process, but this in and of itself can be even more painful because this person can feel you pulling away. They can feel you getting distant. And then maybe they'll lean in more and they're like, what's going on? What's happening? I'm noticing a difference. You're like, no, everything's fine. But actually it's not. And you're like, oh my God, I wish this person would just stop messaging me already. I wish they would just get the hint. And we're doing this because we want to save ourselves from feeling uncomfortable. And this is the paradox of people pleasing. We think we're doing the nice thing by not hurting their feelings, but actually we are causing even more suffering. And we might say something like, oh, they're just such a nice person, but I'm not feeling it and I don't want to hurt their feelings. So instead, I'm just going to say nothing at all. I'm sparing their feelings. And we almost like gaslight ourselves in this way that we're doing the right thing by sparing their feelings and protecting them from this hurt. And it can, like I said, be even more hurtful and confusing to bury our head in the sand and just hope that this problem will go away. Another reason could be personal stuff, right? So sometimes we hear these people saying, even if they just come back into our life, which I'm going to talk about in the next episode, by the way, about people coming back into our life, maybe we'll say or hear something from them that says something like, I've just got so much going on right now. This is happening, that is happening. I just don't have the energy and the time for this. I've just been really busy. And what's happening with this person, maybe they are very overwhelmed. They are going into what we call their parasympathetic nervous system, where they are shutting down. They're going into a freeze response and they just can't. They don't have the capacity to respond. The stress or the depression is just really overwhelming them right now and is making it more difficult for them to engage in a relationship or a situation and communicate anything that they're going through at that moment. That could be happening, right? And this is, again, not an invitation now for you to go into that space of like, oh, because we are empathic people and we are sensitive and we are compassionate, all beautiful traits that we hold. But sometimes we can use them in a way that we then start to excuse people's behavior. So we are not excusing it. Yes, we can leave the space for a conversation to happen, but we are not brushing it under the rug and saying, oh, it's because they were just so busy. But it could be that. It could be a lack of empathy. Now, we often are not come across people that are more on the narcissistic side. Some of us may even have very real experiences with narcissists. And when we are being ghosted by someone on this spectrum, and we're all kind of on the spectrum in different levels, really, but a lot of people do genuinely lack that sense of empathy. And they may say something like, this is just how I do things. I get what I need from that person. We've slept together. That's all I wanted. And I don't want nothing more to do with them. I'm going to move on. And I don't feel any type of way about that. If anything, I think it's okay. And they treat people as if they are replaceable. There is no respect, no empathy, no concern for that other individual in the interaction. They cannot put themselves in the shoes of others. There's no consideration at all. It's a complete self-centeredness. It's manipulative, because maybe if this is you, they have promised you the world. They have done all the love bombing. They have made you feel so special. And I speak from personal experience here. They make you feel like the most special person in the world, that they are so ready to commit to you. Like, they say all the things that they want to hear just to get that thing from you, what they need, which more often not is some sort of sex or intimacy. And then as soon as they receive that, they're gone. And it hurts so badly, because it feels like there's so much that could come up. For me, it was like self-betrayal. I slept with this person before I was even ready. I gave myself to this person in the most vulnerable way, and they took it and they left. And it's just, it just stabs and twists you in a way like no other. So we're dealing with all that stuff as well when this person does that. They have this inflated sense of self and ego and a sense of entitlement that they get to do this, and it's totally okay, and it's totally all right to exploit others for their own gain. And they may even keep you on a string in a way to continue inflating their sense of ego and status. They might get a kick and a thrill out of knowing that they've hurt you, knowing that they have left you in this completely anxious state, that you're thinking of them, that you're missing them. It makes them feel good. And they don't see anything wrong with that. There's no guilt. So like I said, not everyone that ghosts you is going to be a narcissist, but just something to bear in mind, that this does exist. This is a very real thing. And to just be aware of it. To just be aware of it and put things in place to protect yourself if you feel like this is going to happen to you. And then the last one is a fear of retribution. So, and I'm going to say this with no judgment here or shame, because I have also been in this space where the connection or relationship itself has been quite volatile, has been quite unhealthy, and this person wants to end it, but they fear some sort of retribution, that you are going to take revenge on them, that they are going to be unsafe in some way. So they may feel like they don't have the capacity to handle any emotional explosions, and they're afraid that they are going to be at risk of some sort of harassment or harm or revenge in some way. So they are ghosting to protect themselves from that. And that also could be a very real response and experience. They just don't feel safe ending things. Maybe you have been in that space as well, where you have dated someone who's just overly protective, overly possessive, and the only way that you can see yourself leaving this situation is to ghost them, is to completely remove yourself so you don't put yourself at harm's way. But from those exceptions, right, there is always the exception to the rule of unsafety and risk of significant harm in relationships. But the majority of these ghosting experiences comes down to that lack of emotional immaturity to have difficult conversations. And at the end of the day, guys, we are not children. We are all grown adults. And difficult conversations and conflict is just a part of life. It is an essential skill that we need to take upon ourselves to learn. Unfortunately, a lot of us just not have learned that in school. And I am on a mission to be able to get that into schools and into children, into parenting, to be able to establish effective communication skills. But A lot of us have not had that pleasure, that privilege of learning it from a young age. So now we have to take it upon ourselves as adults to integrate that into our lives. Emotional intelligence also being one of them. And I like to think that this world is going in that way where a lot of us are taking that accountability to improve ourselves and our relationships in this way. But I'm also seeing that there is still a lot of avoidance. There is still a lot of passive aggressiveness out there that we are falling into our default behavior of this is just how we're going to communicate and there's no way of changing that. We are responsible for having healthy relationships in our lives by developing and molding these skills within each other. Okay, so now I want to end this episode with talking a little bit about how to respond to somebody who is ghosting you. So we all want closure at the end of the day. We all deserve closure because these interactions can make us feel so powerless, confused, and sometimes we might find ourselves not even being able to emotionally process because we are stuck in this space of what ifs and not getting it. We just don't understand, and we really, really need some form of closure. The silence is killing me. It's torturous. And we all deserve that closure, and we compensate sometimes by giving ourselves closure in the way that we internalize the experience to give ourselves the answers. Now, even if you saw it coming, you still deserve an answer. You still deserve an explanation. There is a way of giving ourselves that closure, absolutely. And if you can do that for yourself, that is the most powerful way to respond to someone who's ghosting you, is to just say nothing. Because especially if we are dealing with someone that is more on the narcissistic side, by chasing them, by texting them, by calling them profusely, that is actually feeding into what they wanted from you. So sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing, is to say nothing, is to intrinsically validate your worthiness and value, that you are no longer going to spend an ounce of energy, time, and effort on this person if they are not willing to do the same. So the internal closure that you may be inviting into your process is completely removing them from your space. Maybe you're blocking them, you're removing their number, you're getting rid of things that remind you of them, and you are cleansing your internal and external world from this person. Like I said, it takes time, but this is such a powerful ritual that you can do for yourself when you are clearing out space and processing an experience like this. The most powerful revenge, the sweetest revenge, is to move on, is to know that this person has let you slip, has let you go. Oh my God, they are losing out because you are a freaking catch. And you're going to move on. And you know that you're going to find that person that is going to see your value, is going to respect your value, and is going to want you in their life in every way. And they are going to let you know about it. You are no longer entertaining flakiness, inconsistency, people that do not have the capacity to show up for you in an emotionally mature way. Absolutely not. Closing the door. But you're also deciding that if you do see them, maybe you're living in the same city, you're going to be kind because you know that they're going through their own shit. You know that they have to now deal with this experience that they have caused another person to have. So you're going to just let them know that you are not impacted by their immature behavior, that they do not have power over you no more. That they do not have that control, that they did you a favor. Now go and live with yourself and your emotional immaturity, and I am sorry for anybody that has to be a victim of that unless you are willing to work on yourself. They've removed themselves from your life, and for that you are internally grateful. Because at the end of the day, I know how tempting it is to reach out and to say all the things you want to say and to do all the things you want to do and to get that revenge. But at the end of the day, we might be doing this because we think that they're going to change their mind. If only we can do something or say something differently, they're going to change their mind. But my reframe to you, my love, is do you even want to? Do you want to change their mind? you've dodged a bullet. But if you need to send something, if you're like, Sammy, I am stuck. I want to be able to do all these internal closure rituals. It sounds amazing, but I just cannot. I need some sort of external closure. I need to send a message. Okay, I hear you. Let's talk about it. If you need to send something, send a message that's going to turn the tables of power in your favor. So it doesn't feed into any sense of ego, but you're also just letting them know that you are no longer available for this and you are walking away. So you are still having that sense of empowerment, and they do not have that capacity to make you feel any type of suffering. Pain, they may make you feel. Suffering, no. So we want to send a message that is giving that vibe. And this is how it could go. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. I'm not sure what happened, but I hope everything's okay. But I no longer want to pursue this. I value consistency and open communication. I believe my time and energy is too valuable, and I no longer want to invest in this. Best of luck. That is very simple, to the point. It doesn't have any emotional charge to it. It is giving you the sense that this is my choice. I'm choosing this. I am putting an end to this gray, open, confusing thing. And it's giving you that sense of agency and empowerment. It's going to make you feel empowered, and it's going to give you that sense of closure. So frame it in a way that does that. Obviously use your own words so it doesn't, sound scripted in any way. But along those lines, keep it simple. Don't over-explain and don't over-give. Keep it simple and to the point. And meet their lack of empathy with an abundance of your own. Another way to give yourself closure. Pour so much love and compassion into yourself. This is the opportunity to do so. Allow this experience to really formulate an understanding of who you want to be in the world. Like, sometimes we have to go through these painful experiences to understand who we don't want to be. I know I do not want anybody to go through what I've been through, and I'm going to put the necessary things in place to make sure that they don't. I'm going to put the necessary things in place to make sure that I don't go through this again. Because at the end of the day, we are not responsible for other people. We are only responsible for ourselves. So rest in your power and confidence that you can do that. You are not at fault here, but you get to decide and choose how you react and respond and show up in these experiences. Just know that you are blessed. Again, it can be very triggering to hear this, but you are blessed, my love, that this person has decided that you are not an energetic match, because you are willing to give and receive in such a way, but they are not. So they have been removed, either from them by themselves or by God. God has removed them. They've revealed their true colors. And when we can reach a space where other people's choices and opinions and ideas can literally be like water running off our skin, like it just doesn't impact us on a deep level, that is when we truly have a sense of empowerment and control over our lives. It's a powerful space to be, when we no longer allow these experiences to sink into our pores and define who we are and our life and the way that our life is going to go. Whew, that is a lot to take in, my love, but I hope that this episode has been helpful for you and has provided you with that sense of closure that you have been craving. Now, if you do need further support in navigating these experiences and you want to know more about how to put the necessary things in place so this does not happen again in your world, and that can never be promised, by the way, but always your reaction can be different. Your response and your experiences can be different. Reach out to me. Let me know if you're in need of further support, and we can have a chat about that. And I would also just love to know how you feel about this episode. If this has been helpful to you in any way, send me a quick DM. I always love to hear from you guys. And if you want to share this episode with someone who's really going through this painful experience right now, I would love to be able to have them receive this message. Until next time, my loves, thank you so much, and enjoy Halloween month and all the festivities that come with it. And I will see you again soon. Thank you so much for joining me on the Relationship Rehab podcast. I hope that this episode has supported you in healing, growing, and evolving out of insecure attachment and unhealthy relationship patterns and into safe, authentic love with yourself and others. If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would just take a second to rate and review this podcast. Every rating and review from you guys counts, as it really helps this podcast to grow so it can reach more people who need to hear this content. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Take a screenshot of this podcast episode, share it on your IG stories, and tag me at the.relationship.rehab with your biggest takeaway from the episode. I really do love reading them. See you back here next week for another episode on the Relationship Rehab podcast.